Welcome back to Core4Adventures. I'm Carol.
And I'm Laura.
And it has been exactly 1 year since we started our YouTube channel, Core4Adventures. And we just hit 1,000 subscribers. So we wanted to thank you for all of your support in the last 12 months.
And we decided to do a Q&A to commemorate. And we're even going to bring the guys in a little bit to put their 2 cents worth into. So, first question, what inspired you to start a YouTube channel?
Well, it really started for me a long time ago. I've always done like photo albums from every big trip that I've taken, and I just liked the storytelling and the creative aspects of creating those memory books. And we all went to Hawaii, we went to Maui, and we got to snorkel with sea turtles, and I was completely bummed out that I didn't have any pictures of that memory to put in my photo books. So because of that, I was like, okay, well, I need to get an underwater camera. And for my birthday, I got a GoPro. And this was right before we went to the Caribbean on our first cruise, the Caribbean cruise, which, by the way, we weren't planning on being YouTubers when we took that cruise. So the video that you can see, it's just
mostly just stills that we put together to get started because our mom wanted to see what we had done, and that's kind of the next step, right?
Right, because we took that GoPro into the ocean with us, and we got the best footage underwater of swimming with the sea turtles. And our mother lives in Illinois.
Hi, Mom!
And we wanted to share that with her, but the files were so big, the only way we could think of doing it was to upload it to YouTube. And so that's really where this all started from, was being able to share our travels and our adventures with our family and friends that don't live near us. And I can't believe that we are sitting here 12 months later with 1,000 subscribers for our channel. It's amazing.
It's absolutely mind-blowing, but very cool. What have been the highlights of our first year?
The highlight for me this entire year was definitely going on the Alaskan cruise. It is something that I picked. I was the one that got to choose the destination and the ship and everything that we did, the entire itinerary. So that was really a bucket list cruise for me. I really wanted to make it up to Alaska. It is a goal of mine to get it to all 50 states in my lifetime, and I've crossed the most difficult ones off the list. We've crossed off Alaska, Hawaii, we've even been to Puerto Rico, and so that has got to be a highlight for me. What about you, Laura?
So I think showcasing the Central Coast has been a really big highlight. When you live someplace, you don't always go out and explore all of the fun and interesting things that are in the area because you're busy working. You're busy doing the day-to-day tasks of life. And to stop and have to plan and figure out what the best things are in each of our cities around us has been a really big highlight for me.
Well, because we get out and really see it through the eyes of a traveler or somebody who is visiting our area. Even though we drive by those places all the time, it just gets you out of that rut. So our next question has to do with the fact that we were first-time cruisers a lot on this channel. So what is the most valuable tip that you have learned as a first-time cruiser, Laura?
You definitely want to make sure to do your research. We have an entire group of cruise-related videos, and we're going to link it here so that you can take a look and do your research if you're going to do a cruise. It's really important to make sure you're picking the right ship and the right location for your room. We originally, when we booked that Alaskan cruise, had chosen rooms that were really high up on the ship, thinking that's where we wanted to be. And after we took our Caribbean cruise, we came back and called NCL and moved our rooms.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad we did, because you don't need to be all the way up at the top to get to see the good views, and you definitely feel the motion a whole lot more up there.
Yeah. One of the biggest travel tips that I could share with you for first-time cruisers is just pace yourself. Go at your own pace, that you can get easily overwhelmed on these large ships and you can forget to do some of the things that you really want to do. For example, when we were on the NCL Escape, I really wanted to do the ropes course, but we just ran out of time because it was like squirrel. We'd see something shiny and we'd go run and do it, and then we'd go run and do something else, and we were excited and happy and busy the whole time. But then I got to the end of the cruise and I was like, oh dang, I didn't get to do the one thing I wanted to do. So now we want to try something really fun, and I'm going to step out and we're going to have Randy come in and let's ask the guys some of these questions, shall we?
This is Randy. You guys have seen him on some of our other videos. He's my husband. We've been married for about 20 years now. We've had a lot of adventures just this last year alone. The first one of last year was my 50th birthday cruise to the Caribbean. And what was your favorite part of that?
I would have to say the beaches. They were magnificent. The sand was soft. The snorkeling was fabulous. The water was so clear. A lot of sergeant majors in the water, and you could see them. One time I even got to swim through a school of fish, which was kind of fun.
I absolutely loved seeing the turtles. That was my bucket list item for the trip, to get to swim with sea turtles and actually get it on tape this time, and we succeeded. So our other big trip this year has been Alaska, Randy. What's your favorite part there?
Well, probably that would have to be Glacier Bay, because I always wanted to see the glaciers before they melt. They are disappearing and they have retreated quite a bit, so I was pretty happy about getting to see them, and it was very serene.
Right? It was really cool when we went into Glacier Bay. They gave us this map of where the glaciers had been and how they had receded, and it was significant in the last couple hundred years. So I'm glad that we got to go before they're completely gone. And that water was so glass-like calm in the bay. It was just magical, right?
It was, and even though you don't feel like you needed to, we ended up finding ourselves whispering because we almost didn't want to, break the serene
the calm of the environment.
Area, yeah.
I agree. I have to say for myself, one of my favorite things was getting to hike in Juneau. It was so beautiful up there, and those totems were so cool.
They were, and the views
cool?
were fantastic from up there too. I mean, you could see everything, and the ships looked like little Tonka toys when they were up that high. It was kind of fun.
They were really tiny from up there. It was kind of cool. Well, of course, we've had those two big trips this year, but we live on the central coast of California, and we have for 18 years now. Yeah. What's your favorite city on the central coast, Randy?
Probably, I think my favorite place on the Central Coast is Morro Bay, because it does have a good little beach community vibe, kind of like you'd expect in the 70s or something almost. The weather's fabulous, the ocean's good, love going around the rock, that's fun too.
It's not so touristy too.
No.
I have to say that's my favorite place on the Central Coast too. I always say my soul lives there.
Yep.
I think yours does a little bit too, right?
A little bit too, I just love the ocean.
And Randy, last question for you. What's been your funniest behind-the-scenes moment this year?
I think it was getting caught playing with the king crab legs. I mean, it just kind of looks like, a alien creature, so I had to have some fun with it there.
I loved that moment. My favorite behind-the-scenes moment happened when we were in the Caribbean. And Carol and I were swimming back from the shipwreck, and all of a sudden Carol realized that her GoPro was not on her wrist. She said, "Oh my gosh, we have to go back." And I'll admit that I'm not an incredibly fast swimmer, but I started heading back with her, and Carol looked like she was on top of the water. She was moving so fast that I was like, I'll wait here for you. I'll just wait. It's okay. And she got it. Everything was okay. But it was absolutely hilarious to watch her. Thank you so much, Randy, for coming in and sharing this with us. We really appreciate it.
No problem. And thank you for having me.
Okay, so now it's our turn. You know Pepper, he's been on the videos before, but this is my husband. We've been married for 24 years, and we are so excited to go over our set of questions now. So the first one is, Pepper, what was your favorite part of the Caribbean cruise that we took this last year?
Favorite part of the Caribbean cruise was probably just the ship itself. It was the first time again that we were on a ship like that. And I didn't really realize it, but I've described it to people like it's like being in Las Vegas.
Right.
You know how they build a casino in Las Vegas and everything's inclusive. And the idea, of course, is to keep you in that casino. So there's 3 or 4 restaurants, and there's 5 or 6 bars, and there's a theater, and there's activity, and there's all this stuff going on. So to me, it was very reminiscent of that. The cool part is that you're on a ship, which is like a casino, but it stops in cool places.
Yeah.
So that to me was what sold me on cruising, period. I was like, all right, so we can go to all these really cool places, but when we're not at a port, we're in Vegas. We're having, we're in a great spot. So.
Well, for me, I think that my favorite part of the Caribbean cruise was just being surrounded by the ocean at all times, because I am a big fan of the ocean. It's my favorite thing to go sit by or swim in, and the water was warm when we went to the beaches. We actually got to snorkel with sea turtles and a lot of sea life, and so that was definitely my favorite part of the Caribbean cruise. What was your highlight of the Alaskan cruise?
First of all, when you tell people you're going to Alaska, they say, oh, you're going to love it. It's the greatest thing ever. And from Seattle to Alaska is a long way. There is a lot of land and earth there that you know that, but until you actually go through that, you don't realize just how big it is in terms of distance, but also in terms of size. We live not too far from Big Sur. We've been to Tahoe many times. We've been to Colorado and the Rockies. I mean, it's all of those things and then some. Mm-hmm. The Alaska coastline, the mountains. Once we got to Skagway, we got on the train and we went through the Yukon territory, the size and the scope, and it's just magnificent.
Yeah, so the train that you mentioned, that was my favorite part of the Alaskan cruise. It's one of the reasons why I booked that itinerary, was so that we could go to Skagway and do the White Pass Railroad and get that VIP car, because that was so posh. It felt so special. It was a big splurge, don't get me wrong, but it was worth every single penny for each one of us to have our own club chairs. We got to relax. There was food, there were drinks, and you got the best view out of the back of the caboose. So that was number one on my list.
The bartender was the narrator, was hooked us up with the food, and it was a very small, intimate group. You're right. Of all the splurges we've done, that's one of the best splurges we've ever done.
So you don't mind that I splurged on that?
Not at all.
Okay,
not at all. No, the chair alone was worth it, because it was a big fat captain's chair and an open bar, so he brought me beers constantly.
The whole time. In addition to some big trips that we took this last year, we've been featuring the Central Coast of California on our channel a lot, because we live here. We've lived out here for 21 years, and we absolutely love the Central Coast. So, Pepper, if you had to pick one place on the Central Coast to say is your favorite, I know that's hard.
Yeah.
I know that's a hard ask, but if you had to pick one place on the Central Coast that is your absolute favorite, what would it be?
Well, most people think of the Central Coast and they think of California and they think we're, on the beach and it's just beach days all the time. The beaches are beautiful. The sunsets at the beach are beautiful. All of that's beautiful. But my favorite is the sunset in wine country in Paso Robles. In the summer when it's warm and the sun doesn't go down till late at night. And of course you're in wine country, so you've got the wine and the food and the friends. And to me, it's better than the ocean sunset.
Yeah.
It is. And if you don't believe me, you could just come and try it for yourself and see what you think.
Well, stay tuned, because we're going to be featuring Paso Robles on the channel in the upcoming years. So we will definitely show you Central Coast wine country and the best places to go if you're going to be traveling to Paso Robles. For me, it's a little town called Avila Beach, and it is just about 15 minutes from our house, but it's tucked away behind some hills. You got to drive down windy roads to get there. But when you do get to Avila Beach, it opens up into this really quaint little town. I love to go there for dinner. I love there to go to walk on the pier. It is just one of my favorite spots on the Central Coast. We also haven't featured that on the channel yet, but we will in the upcoming year. So now that we've talked about the Caribbean and Alaska and the Central Coast, let's talk about the channel. So we've been doing this for about a year now. 1 year, 1,000 subscribers. We're very excited about that. But behind the scenes, there are things that happen that people don't always get to see. So Pepper, what is your funniest behind the scenes moment from the past year?
Well, before I get to that, I want to say congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
I want to take a moment to really say how proud I am of our wives that have done a majority of the work on this channel. They've worked really hard, and this is a big milestone. So congratulations.
Thank you.
The only thing I could think was kind of funny, but it wasn't kind of funny, was my first attempt at the Brazilian restaurant on the Caribbean cruise. I have been fascinated with the Brazilian restaurant concept, idea. I've seen it in pictures, I've seen it in movies, I've seen it on TV. It's where they bring the big hunk of meat out and they just carve it off right there at the table. And of course, that gets me very, very excited. And that night I was really looking forward to. Maybe a little bit too excited for it because I pre-partied a little bit too early.
Just a little bit.
And yeah, I started a little bit harder than I should have in the middle of the afternoon. And by the time we got to dinner, well, let's just say I didn't make the video. I didn't actually make the whole dinner.
Nope.
And it didn't end well.
It's a cautionary
It didn't end
tale.
well. I put myself to sleep a little early.
Just pace yourself. When you're out
Yes.
on a cruise and it was our very first night, you
Yeah.
get really excited, and everywhere you turn, they're putting a drink in your hand. So just pace yourself on your first embarkation day.
Yeah.
Now,
And I was going to say, we have a makeup opportunity in the
Yes.
future. Next time we do the Brazilian on the Norwegian
Escape.
I will be pacing myself to fully enjoy that meal.
Deal?
I promise.
Okay. So actually it's really funny because my behind the scenes, my favorite, funniest moment behind the scenes is almost the same thing, which is when we got on the cruise for our Alaskan cruise. Laura and I started drinking Cosmos martinis. We had 3 of them down before we even left the area to go into our cabin. And there is some funny footage of me that's probably never going to make the internet. Yeah, it's just go easy on the first day. That's my best advice to you, because otherwise you're going to have film that you can't show anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Easier said than done when you're excited about your vacation.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get back to Laura and I to continue our Q&A.
And for our next question, Carol, do you have any travel mishaps you'd like to share?
I've got one, and that was from a few years ago. The 4 of us went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and when we go on vacations, I am all about the excursions and the experiences. And when we got to Puerto Rico, we stayed at a beautiful resort hotel, and nobody wanted to do anything but lay out on the beach. So even though we got to go to Old Town San Juan, we didn't get to go hiking in El Yunque, and I was okay with that because we had one big excursion still planned for that trip, which was to go on a boat tour of the bio bays at night. Now, a bioluminescent bay, they're only in certain places of the world, and the plankton glows at night. And so you can go out there and you can see these really cool trails in the water, and I was so looking forward to this. So when we started out for the excursion, we noticed that it was raining, and so we called the tour company and we said, hey, it's raining, is this tour still going on? And they were like, yes, the tour is still going on. If you cancel on us, you don't get a refund, but if you show up and we cancel due to weather, you're going to get a refund, so you do need to come out. And it was halfway across the island, but we did drive out there, and we sat in the car, and we were just sitting facing the ocean, and there were just these huge sheets of rain, one right after the other coming through, and it was pretty miserable. I'm going to put a picture up right here of how it felt to be sitting in that car waiting for our Bio Bay tour. We got out of the car just about 5 minutes before our tour was to start, because we kept calling and they kept telling us, yes, it's still on. Yes, it's still on. It was still raining, and we got completely drenched on our way over to the check-in counter. And then when we got there, they were like, oh, yeah, no, we had to cancel because of rain. So we pretty much wasted our entire night just sitting in a car, getting rained on by a beach in Puerto Rico.
Watching a tropical storm.
Yeah.
At least we had done the excursion with the motorboat, so that we were just sitting in a car, because there was a second tour option that we had discussed, and I really had tried to encourage them to think about maybe doing a kayaking tour. Well, the people who did the kayaking tour, they got them into the kayaks, into the mangroves, and then the storm hit, and they were just getting beat against those mangroves, sitting there in their kayaks. They couldn't get out. They were drenched. They were miserable. I mean, we were drenched and miserable too by the end.
But not like them.
But not like that.
No. Even though our experience wasn't fantastic, you can't help the weather, but it was definitely a mishap on our travels. The next question is, what do you hope viewers get out of this travel channel?
For me, I hope they get a lot of travel tips and tricks so that their vacations are better. I mean, I think it's definitely made our vacations a lot better, how much we plan and plot everything before we go. And if we can take all of that experience that we've gotten from it to make it better for other people, I absolutely want to do that. How about you?
For me, I just hope that you enjoy coming along on our travels with us. We love sharing. Like I said, we started this so that we could share our travels with our family back in Illinois. And so if you are on that train where you just like to see what we're doing, we are happy to have you come along with us.
And we do have an entire new cruise series about to come out, and so stick around. You're going to really love it.
And that leads us to our last question, Laura.
What destinations do we have on our travel bucket list for this next year?
So we've been talking about the Mediterranean cruise because we are literally leaving for it right now. However, we have other big trips planned this year that I'm very excited about. We all are turning 50 in the same time frame. The Mediterranean cruise is for Pepper's 50th birthday, and then my 50th birthday is in December. And we are not doing a cruise, but we are doing a big trip where we're going to be going to London and Paris, and we're going to be bringing you all of the highlights of that trip, including a visit to a little mouse's house in Paris.
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And Randy also turns 50 within the next year. So we'll be doing a cruise for him because that's what he wanted to do. And we're going to go back to the Caribbean. I'm so excited because we're going to start in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
So we're going back to Puerto Rico, and we get to be on one of the brand new ships, the Norwegian Viva, and we cannot wait to check that one out. Well, that wraps up our Q&A, our celebration of 1 year of being Core4 Adventures and getting to 1,000 subscribers. So we cannot thank you enough for your support, all of your comments. You have been such an amazing community, and thank you for supporting us.
Yes, and if you have any other questions for us or any places you'd love to see us go, we'd love to hear it in the comments. We really do get a kick out of seeing all of your comments, and we love to answer them every time. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel because it really does help us out.
And if you'd like more of our travel tips series, just click on the link below. Thanks so much for watching. We will catch you next time.
Bye.